The SADC Council of Ministers meeting has concluded at the International Convention Centre in Durban, with regional leaders reflecting on key challenges facing the bloc. International Relations and Cooperation Minister Ronald Lamola, who chairs the council, says the meeting focused on strengthening regional cooperation and addressing critical issues affecting member states. For the latest on the outcomes of the meeting and preparations for the upcoming SADC Summit, we now cross live to SABC News international reporter Khayelihle Khumalo, who's currently in Durban in KwaZulu-Natal. Khaya, thank you so much for your time. We are expecting a number of heads of state to arrive today. We have been monitoring that, but the ministers' meeting, there were some important outcomes that came out of there about the future of the bloc and some of the improvements that can be made. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, absolutely, Diabo. So we're really edging closer to the culmination point here in Durban, which is Monday, where the heads of state will have an opportunity really to look at all these critical issues facing SADC, whether you're talking about regional integration, which is, of course, a cornerstone when you're talking about SADC, when you're talking about really the issues of value chain, when you're talking about really a transformative approach, when you're talking about the economic patterns, where they want to move away from the unprocessed stuff when it comes to the minerals, making sure that there is value addition so that we can see jobs in the SADC region. But also, Diabo, as well, when you talk about the issues of peace and security, absolutely very key issues, especially because this weekend, that's what's going to be a focal point when you're talking about some of the very critical hotspots. You look at the current situation in Madagascar. We saw that coup that deposed President Rajoelina, and subsequent to that, South Africa was the interim chair. So this particular point in time, we're going to see now South Africa officially taking over, but also we saw Minister Lamola assuming that all-important position as the chair of the Council of Ministers. But to really just give us a sense about where we are in terms of really these developments, we're joined by the Deputy Government Spokesperson, Mr. William Baloyi. So thank you so much indeed, sir, and welcome to SABC News. Maybe just first of all, just to give us a sense, I mean, we saw the Council of Ministers meeting concluding, and Minister Lamola also just talking about a number of issues, you know, whether you're looking at the issues of migration, updating his counterpart about South Africa's approach on this very thorny issue.
No, thank you very much, and thank you for having us. There's been a weekend of hard work. We started with the SADC Industrial Week, and now we're in the belly of the business, which is the Council of Ministers. The Council of Ministers decide on the issues that are going to be presented to the heads of states and leaders of government. The Council of Ministers also decide and deliberate on other issues that are affecting the region, and also the propose an agenda that should be presented before the leaders of government and heads of state. So, which is a very, very important organ. And as you have correctly indicated, we have assumed the chairship through our Minister of International Relations, Minister Lamola, who is now the chair. So we will be then presenting to the leaders of government and also heads of states all those issues that should be looked at. And key amongst the ones, it's also our agenda as South Africa when we assume the chairship, and that is to increase the issue of business, economic activity within the SADC region. We want to increase it very, very strongly, because when South Africa doesn't assist your neighboring countries to develop, then you are going to have problems that are going to all come south. So we believe in South Africa that the issue of economic muscles for the neighboring countries should be key. However, as we have indicated, that will also look at the issue of security, because where you don't have adequate security, you won't have that economic muscle and economic activity. Hence today, on Saturday, the Troika, which is leading the organ on security, which is led by Malawi, it's meeting today to look at all issues of security. And we take it that when the heads of states and leaders of government meet, then they will also endorse some of the issues that will be looked at. as you are aware, South Africa is one of the strongest economies, not only in the region, but also in the continent. Now, the issue is we have to make sure that that muscle that we have, we assist to share with your neighboring countries so that we avoid some of the issues that we have seen spilling over into our country. Remember, if people were having enough economic activities in their countries, there was not going to be need for them to traverse through dangerous terrains to come to South Africa. So that will be our aim, to increase economic activity within the region.
Let's look at one of the perennial issues, Mr. Baloyi. We know that when you talk about intra-regional trade, it is a very big issue, and there's so much enormous potential in the region, whether you're looking at the issue of the critical minerals, which has also been one of the focal points, and coincidentally really guided by South Africa's G20 presidency, where a framework was adopted in terms of ensuring that we see these minerals being beneficiated right here in the continent as opposed to just being shipped away. So how is South Africa's chairship going to ensure that we see that really becoming a very big issue and really just enabling the trader to flow? I mean, we're right here in Durban, which is one of the key corridors within the SADC region in terms of the movement of goods from right here in the coast to the landlocked countries.
Actually, the region is endowed with minerals. And to be honest, we don't have any reason to be poor in the region. Now, South Africa has the relevant skills and the experience, as you have indicated. Currently at eThekwini, where we are in KZN, we have Richards Bay, which is one of the greatest ports that can be used. So the port of Durban also is a corridor for making sure that we send goods and minerals to other areas. But key among the issues is that, well endowed as we are as a region with minerals, the question is, are we beneficiaries? And we are not. Because as you have indicated, raw materials gets exported, then we are forced to buy the products on higher prices. And that is a disjuncture that we'll be looking at South Africa to say, how do we make sure that beneficiation it's done right in the countries so that it creates jobs, but there is also a spin-off, economic spin-offs of the raw materials within those countries. So those are some of the issues that will be championing. Correctly so, we hosted the G20, which amongst others we look also at how to strengthen our economic participation with other countries within the G20. And I can assure you that South Africa is on a great footing to make sure that the economy of the region, the economy also of the partner countries has that symbiotic and exchange process, especially given the geopolitics that all of us we are experiencing and its impact on the economies of different countries. So that is where we want to move strongly into making sure that regionally we lead together with the countries to make sure that whatever we have, we can interact and it should benefit the region.
All right, Sen, just before I let you go, I mean, it's quite a very Herculean task. It's a very mammoth task to put together an event of this magnitude. You know, it started with the senior officials, then subsequent to that, we saw the ministers, and come Monday, the heads of states are going to meet. And in fact, some of the heads of states are arriving this morning, this afternoon. In terms of really putting it together for a host country, how's that like?
That is the experience that this country has. South Africa has hosted major events, and make no mistake, that experience, we make sure that we cross all the T's, we dot all the I's, and we have hosted. Remember, we also hosted the biggest spectacle in the world of the World 2010 soccer. That is not a picking anything. Secondly, we have hosted even your G20 summit. We have hosted also the BRICS. We have hosted. So we have that experience of hosting such major events, especially also when it comes to logistics, the transportation logistics, when it comes to making sure that the security the hospitality industry, but also the other off the agenda issues like tourism, where now people will be exposed to the country. Remember, KZN, Durban is also a playground for holidays, and people tend to also appreciate. And you can see how clean the city is. The city is under very, very good hands, and thus, as a country, we feel free that any part of this country can host any event of any magnitude. And we are proud of ourselves for that in South Africa, but that is what we want to also export to other regional partnerships, to say, let us exchange experiences on this.
All right. Mr. William Baloyi, of course, Diabo, that's the Deputy Government Spokesperson, really just giving us a sense about really just putting together an event of this magnitude, but also really just some reflections. As you know, that the SADC Council of Ministers meeting has been wrapped up, and now obviously we're expecting today, during the course of this afternoon, the Troika to meet, particularly to look at really just the peace and security within the SADC region. In fact, the SADC Executive Secretary, Mr. Ellis Makhosi, often says this region is relatively stable. Obviously, there are some hotspots, the likes of Madagascar, the eastern parts of the DRC, and the northern parts of Mozambique as well.